Hey guys, it's me, John Anthony Chihak Soltero. I am the anti-hero, and I just finished Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira. All six volumes encompass well over 2,000 pages. Um, it is the first manga that I've read uh, to completion. Um, I had previously collected like four of the volumes. This was several years ago, and it was so intimidating just looking at the size of the volumes themselves. I mean, if you look at them, they're super thick. This is the sixth volume, and it's over 430 pages long in and of itself. Some of the smaller volumes are in the 350 range, um, but it is now in my top five. I would actually probably put this in my top three of all time comic book stories that I've ever read. Um, uh, Growing up, I guess the only exposure to Japanese culture, anime, manga kind of thing, were the cartoons that came through to the United States, things like Voltron, Robotech, um, to the major extent, and then um, I went through a phase where I didn't want to watch any anime. I don't know what it was. I just had like a preconceived notion or a prejudice, if you will, and I just didn't like it. But I'd never really watched anything beyond, um, Robotech and Voltron. So in high school, I started watching things like Ranma One Half. Um, Eventually in college, like I picked up Bubblegum Crisis. I picked up my first. I've owned Akira in like every single format. I've owned it on tape, DVD, now Blu-ray, the 35th anniversary collection, beautifully restored. And surprisingly, for those of you who may have seen Akira or wanted to check it out, the dub version, the translation is extremely close to the sub version. So I saw that at the Loft in September when they were doing their Essentials anime month, and Akira was the very first movie that they played, and they made like special tickets for each of the viewings and stuff like that. It was pretty cool, and they even had like a Japanese food truck outside, so that was pretty sweet. Plus, the unlike the book, the movie takes place in 2019, and this being 2019, I thought it was appropriate to go see it for the very first time in theaters. And I'd seen it several times dubbed, and this was the first time I'd seen it in theaters, and it was subbed. And like I said, the translation was pretty spot on. Um, Otomo's work is extremely detailed, um, and very, very cinematic in scope. Like he's getting these great, crazy angles, lighting. His attention to detail is almost obsessive in terms of like all these fine, tiny details in buildings that are just crumbling and falling apart. I don't believe I've ever read anything in American comics that is this detailed, this fine tuned, and just overall beautiful. It's a dystopian future science fiction, cyberpunk type book and movie. And the movie veers very, very differently from the book. But I became so influenced seeing Akira in the theaters and then starting up the manga series that during Inktober, I did was at least 9 to 12 Akira pieces, including some of the characters were done on random days, but I got to day 14 and I drew Tetsuo because Tetsuo is actually number 41, but there's no 41 days in October, so I did it in reverse. and then all the characters that had powers like Lady Miyako, um, Masaru, Tetsuo, Akira, um, Kyoko, um, they each got drawn on their day. Plus there was the Colonel, Kaneda, Kei. The Colonel I drew with one of the Sentry droids. And for October's event at Charlie's Comic Books, where we did a charity event, we always have an art auction. I've been doing like different stuff. I've been doing larger format things. I've been doing foam core cutouts, so it has like a dimensionality type piece, little stand-ups and stuff. And since it was right before Halloween, I decided to do a Tetsuo mask. And so I had some of the little paper masks that they gave away for like Harley Quinn Day and Batman Day, and just kind of traced that as like my template, so I knew where to put the little pinholes and the eye holes, and then drew out a rough and then bought some watercolor paper because it's really nice and sturdy, and put it together, and it came out really, really well. I was really happy with the way that it was finished. But if you want something that is epic, I mean, I can't recommend Akira enough. It is the most epic story I've ever read. It's probably close to double the length of Bone, which is probably around 1,200 or 1,300 pages itself. And it's detailed. The storytelling is great. Each volume tends to focus on one of the primary characters itself. You can probably find a lot of these volumes online fairly cheap, but I mean, in the United States, the super big page count volumes are $30. Go to your local comic shop or shop that contributes to like the local economy that sells anime, manga, comic books. They can order it for you, or buy it from a small seller on like eBay or Amazon or something like that. But I can't recommend this story enough. It reads extremely fast. It looks intimidating in terms of the sheer size of it, but it reads extremely fast. It's beautiful. And if you can see here, get the Kodansha, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the Kodansha Comics translation. Dark Horse did volumes previously, but I had heard that the Kodansha versions are a superior translation. And from 6 volumes over 2,000 pages, I think I counted three typos maybe. And one of them may have just been me perceiving it as a typo, but over 2,000 pages and you have 3 typos, that's really well done. Your editors are spot on. It's beautiful. The first several pages of each volume are in color. And as with anything, as you can see, this is just beautiful detail. This is done on like a higher quality newsprint. Otherwise, you're probably looking at something that's going to cost double that for the page count itself. But check out Akira. If you haven't watched the anime yet, definitely check it out. There's rumors that they're doing a live action film, which I was really, really against until I saw Alita Battle Angel. They did such a phenomenal job with that as long as they do it in that scope, like let's get Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron to make the live action version, and I'm totally on board with it. But please do it with characters that are the ages of the characters in the book. As much as I like Keanu Reeves shouldn't be playing one of the main characters. He can play the Colonel, he can play one of the scientists or something like that, but not one of the main characters. Until next time, please check out Akira. Thank you for our new subscribers. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace.